everybody. Good morning. How are you? Happy Thursday. Hope that you're doing well. Hope that you and your families are safe and that your weather is good in your part of the world. It's a beautiful day out where I live. So looking forward to another great day out here and another great hour here of talking data science with all of you. So really looking forward to any discussion or any items that we want to talk about today. I'm going to propose an article that we can take a look at, but otherwise I'm always here or whatever thoughts you guys might have or questions you might have. So happy to help you as much as I can. If you're new, if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. That's completely okay. We get a lot of new people really constantly on the stream. So we always like to start off with our global roll call where we ask people, let us know their city, state, province, country. Just let us know a little bit about, where you're watching us from. Just give us an idea of where you are in the world. It's a nice, easy way for everyone to participate in the chats in the community. So please do that, and then I'd be happy to answer your questions and all that after that. After that, I have a little bit of an opening note that I always like to use to kind of just set the tone for the sessions. Make sure that actually, you know what, guys? I just remember I didn't turn on my chat extension. That's why my chat is empty. I was wondering why the chat was empty. Okay, so I just turned on my chat again. Sorry about that, guys. Gosh, you'd think after all this time I'd have this all nailed down. But guys, this streaming stuff is hard. Oh gosh. Okay, so Casual Economist and Yassine, I see your messages, but I don't think they're appearing in my chat because, or in my window because of the plugin. I turned it on late. Okay. All right. Well, any chats coming in from here on in are gonna help. All right. Guys, putting this stuff together is not easy. There's a lot to streaming. Jeez. Anyway, so as I was saying, I also like to do an opening note to kind of set the tone for the chat, see if there's something that maybe sparks your interest or keeps you thinking or whatever the case may be. But again, if you are new, feel free to introduce yourself. Feel free to let us know where you're from. My channel is still growing at a ridiculous rate. So, we always invite people to introduce themselves because you're probably not the only new person. So I'm already seeing a mix of my returning users versus new users. So really glad to see that. So for today's opening note, I wanted to talk about a quick posting I made this morning in our Discord. I found this really great video, this really great quote by a bull rider of all things. Here in the US, I know in some other countries, you also have rodeo as a sport. And I found a great, there's a bull rider here in the US. He's retired now by the name of J.B. Mooney. He's considered one of the best bull riders of all time. And I didn't know this until just recently, by the way. But he's considered one of the best bull riders of all time. And he had a quote of, "A teaspoon of try is worth more than a bucket of talent." A teaspoon of try is worth more than a bucket of talent. And I really appreciated that quote because it resonated with me, because that's really what I've been trying to focus on over the past year, maybe 2 years, of different things that I'm trying, different things that I'm not talking about or that I'm thinking about, but that I'm actually getting out there and trying. And I think that's really important. I think it's really important to bring that to your daily life, to have that attitude of, well, let me experiment, let me try, let me see if this will work out or not. And I'm not going to be perfect when I first start off, but I can at least try, and I can add that experience to my learning, and I can decide to move forward from that, right? I can decide that, hey, I tried something and there's something and it's promising, I can do this or I can do that with it. Or, hey, I tried something and it wasn't that great, and that's okay, right? That's information too. Right? So I really appreciated that quote because I think that, you learn so much from just that little bit of trying, rather than all the potential you might have, all the all the theories you could form, all the stuff that we talk about to ourselves in our head, right? You can do that all day. Takes very little effort to do that, right? But just put out that little bit of trying, that little bit of action, of a little bit of kind of like that information collection for yourself, right? That now you're doing it not just because you thought it was a good theory, but now you're doing something because you tried it, you have some new information to work on, and then you move forward from there, right? I think that's a very healthy process, a very healthy thing for all of us to think about and say, well, I'm just going to start putting in a little bit more try on these things, instead of, sitting in my own head, saying what I'm going to do, theorizing on the results, and sometimes scaring yourself with what the results could be in your mind. And you're going to get out there, you're going to try things. I think that's really valuable. So I posted that in the Discord. It was one of those little YouTube shorts that I found. But like I said, it resonated with me, and maybe it'll resonate with you too. All right. So going back to the chats, really appreciate everyone here. Again, if you're late, go ahead and just let us know where you're from. Let me quickly go over to the YouTubes so I can acknowledge Casual. So Casual Economist says, hey, Casual Economist was the first one today. Thank you so much, my friend. Our friend from Minneapolis, Minnesota, from the great state of Minnesota. Nobody can talk bad about Minnesota. Yassine says, hello, sir. Yassine from Tangier, Morocco. Very cool, Yassine. So always good to see you. And it seems like you're not here alone. Today you also have Leo from Tangier, Morocco. So many people checking in from Tangier, Morocco, including Leo. So Leo, please do share your report on what you think about Tangier, Morocco, since you're there and you're local. Feel free to give us your local report there. Fatima, our good friend Fatima from Meekness says, hey sir. Hey Fatima, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Osama says, hello sir, I hope everything is going well. Everything is going well. Always I get disappointed with myself when I make mistakes in preparing the chat, because I think I get everything dialed in and I always forget this, I always forget that. But yeah, it's things are going well. Things are going well. As long as you're alive, and breathing on your own and standing up straight, you can't complain, right? Rex, our good friend Rex from New York City says, good morning, everyone. Hey Rex, how are you? Hope you're doing well out there, my friend. We never got the report from you and Leo about the Astoria pool. So let us know. Ashish says, hi, I am new here. Ashish, welcome. Glad you joined. Glad you're participating. Some people like to just watch and sit on the sidelines, but you decide to introduce yourself. Really appreciate that. So Ashish says, hey, everyone from India. Hey to you too, Ashish. Love all my Indian viewers. Have a lot of viewers from India, so glad that you're here. Khalif, our good friend Khalif says, good day, folks. Khalif from New York. Okay, Leo, I think you have some cheeky competition there, so good to see you, Khalif. Leo says, oh, great city, lovely people, nice restaurant. Okay, I see what you did there. You're reminding me of something, Leo. I used to say that also, right? That you could fake going to any European city by saying it was dirty, it rained a lot, and everyone smokes, right? I mean, those three things is basically like every large or even medium-sized European city, right? But glad to see that you're enjoying your new home of Tangier, Leo. Ashish says, I'm new here. Yeah, welcome, Ashish. Anything we can help you with, just let us know, okay? After we finish the roll call, I usually take questions or, we talk about other topics. I have an article in mind today, but, otherwise, you guys set the agenda, Emmanuel joining us over on X. So good to see you. So good to see some more engagement on X. So Emmanuel says hello to you too. Emmanuel, we usually ask people, let us know where they're from. Just let us know your city, state, province, country, all that good stuff, okay? Denelson says, good morning, everyone. Hey, Denelson, how are you? Hope you're doing well out there in LA. Let us know what you're up to, Denelson. I don't think I've ever asked, if whatever you're comfortable sharing, like the type of work you do or things that are going on in your life, whatever you're comfortable sharing, just let us know. Leo apparently liked the Europe quote. I feel like a native already. Tangier, Yassine can definitely, well, all the people from Morocco can correct us on this. But Tangier, to me, did feel a little bit like a transient city because, it's so close to Europe, right? A lot of European visitors come via Tangier. And then you can get to a lot of places from Tangier. So it does seem like a transient city. So I don't know how many natives there are in Tangier, right? I mean, I know it's a big city, beautiful city. But I bet there's a lot of people that just kind of pass through there, because there's obviously a lot of ferries between there and Europe, Western Europe. So lots of people that go through Tangier. So Yassine says, "Great quote, sir. I totally agree. And thinking without action really wastes so much time with very little to no output." Yeah, absolutely, Yassine. I really like the way you put that. It's so easy to just sit and think all day, right? And two things I think kind of go wrong there. One, it makes you feel like you accomplished more than you actually did. Right? And that's not good. It can make you feel like you accomplished a lot when you really didn't, right? So that's not positive. And the second thing too is that you end up creating all these scenarios in your mind that some of them kind of can be like negative outcomes, right? So maybe you talk yourself out of what is actually a good idea, but all your theorizing and suppositions in your mind talk you out of it, right? But if you would have just tried a little bit, maybe you would have said, "Hey, that wasn't so bad," or "Hey, I learned a lot here. Let me do that again to learn some more," right? So yeah, I really like the way you put that, Yassine. I'm definitely on board with that. It's just try, guys. Just put a little bit of action behind your words, behind your thoughts, and even maybe put that action as early as you can in your thoughts, right? Doing something is part of research too, rather than just reading or thinking about it, right? So I'm glad you got something out of that, Yassine. I got a lot out of it. I thought it was a great quote. Yeah, you just, you never know where inspiration is going to come from, right? I mean, this guy's a bull rider, right? Not a data scientist, but you gotta draw inspiration from any number of things around you, right? Michael, our good friend Michael is back. Good day, Dennis and everyone. Good day to you too, Michael. How are you? Hope you're doing well out there. If you're comfortable, let us know how your work's going, how your life's going. Anybody can do that. We keep things flexible on days like today. There's not a lot of an agenda today. Yassine says, "Oh yes, the fake feeling of accomplishment, definitely an enemy." Absolutely. Absolutely, right? I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? I mean, maybe if anybody else in the chat wants to share about that. Lots of ways for you to have fake feelings of accomplishment, right? Sometimes I think that people who focus a lot on white papers can get that feeling also, right? And don't get me wrong, I mean, it's a little bit weird that I'm saying that because my proposed article for today is a white paper. But I'm going to show you kind of how I pull apart a white paper to kind of keep myself centered around it. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely sit there and read a lot of white papers and theories and oh, that sounds cool. But it's just research, right? It's your own research on other people's research. There's not a whole lot concrete there. So definitely something that you can spend 3-4 hours doing and you feel like you've accomplished a lot. But what if you had just spent half an hour trying something, right? That 30 minutes would probably have been more valuable than the 4 hours you spent reading white papers, right? So again, not trying to poo-poo white papers, but you definitely want to put some action there. Yassine says one of the deadliest traps nowadays. Yeah, absolutely, right? The fake feeling of accomplishment is absolutely a trap because you got to have something to show for your work. Manoj says, good day to Sir Dennis and everyone. Good day to you too, Manoj. For our good friend in Bangalore, India. Really appreciate your consistent support, my friend. Thank you so much. Rex says, what? Do you mean to tell me there's no ideas guy role in data science? There is. Absolutely, Rex. But Rex, if you remember, because I know you were there, and for anybody else that was there during last Sunday, we were talking about ideas, right? But at the same time, we did do some implementation, right? We did say, yeah, that's a great idea, but why don't you scope that out a little? Let's make sure we can get the data. Let's make sure that this is available. Let's make sure it's feasible, right? That's a little bit of that try. And that's one of the things I do with my teams, right? Where I say, okay, yeah, that idea might have legs, but let's make sure we can solve for this and this before we invest more time in it, right? That's a form of trying too, right? Where you don't just build out this huge solution and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then 3 weeks into it, you find out you can't go further because there's some sort of hard stop, right? So I hear you. It does feel like I'm saying there is no room for ideas. There's definitely room for ideas, but you can also try in conjunction with that, right? And then also, think about how this can carry over into other parts of your life, right? It doesn't always have to be about data science. This could be about, somebody who wants to go on a diet, right? You can research diets all year long, but unless you actually try one of them, nothing's going to happen, right? So it's not just about data science. It's about a lot of aspects of your life. So something else to think about. Leo says, that's hard to discuss. Sorry, Leo, I'm not sure which portion you were referring to. Were you referring to the to Yassine's thoughts, or let me know there, Leo. Sorry, I guess I lost the thread there. Nada A. Yunus, originally Egyptian American from Southern Illinois. Very cool. Cool. Welcome to the chat. Thanks for introducing yourself. Really appreciate that. Anybody else that's kind of sitting on the sidelines? It's your first time here. Please don't be shy. Let us know where you're from, and it's a nice, easy way for you to participate. But Nada, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Nada, thanks for being here. And any questions we can help you with, any thoughts you want to share, please let us know. Okay, Leo was referring to the fake feeling of accomplishment. That's hard to discuss. That's interesting, Leo. Why do you say that? Why do you say it's hard to discuss? I'm curious about that. For me, I can't always relate to that because I've tried to stress within my own self, within my own learning, that it's important for me to be honest with myself, right? I have to be honest and assess the situation and say, yeah, that went pretty well, or hey, I could have handled that better, right? So I'm okay with telling myself like, oh geez, you kind of wasted a couple hours just scrolling on your phone today, right? Like that can be a feeling of accomplishment, right? A fake feeling of accomplishment. So is that what you mean, Leo? Like it's kind of hard to like have like that self-awareness or that self-admission, right? Because there can be some guilt that comes with that, right? Like, oh man, I just spent an hour scrolling, wasted an hour, right? So let me know, Leo, if you're comfortable sharing that, right? Not everybody's comfortable sharing. So let us know. Sariga, I think it's your first time, and there's they say they're from Spain. Well, speaking of Tangier, Tangier and Spain are not that far apart, right? I was able to visit that. What is it? I think that's the Strait of Gibraltar, right? Yeah, I think it's a Strait of Gibraltar. I was able to visit that. I thought that was pretty cool. Got to go on the beach there, so that was kind of cool. Sarvesh, our good friend Sarvesh. Hi, Dennis and all. Sarvesh here from Mumbai, India. Good to see you, Sarvesh. Hope you're doing well. Such a consistent supporter. Thanks so much. And Sariga, also, I know you're a new viewer, so please, so thank you so much. Anything we can help you with, let us know. All right, so Denislin says, I'm a post-bachelor graduate in CS. Unfortunately, I've been unable to land a job in the field. I'm always practicing and trying to improve because I'm passionate about data science and I don't want to give up. All right, cool, Denislin. Thanks for sharing. You're in the right place, as far as putting yourself in a community of data scientists, right? That's super important. So Danielson, I know that's not your first time, right? I know you've been a great supporter. So I'll assume that I'm a huge advocate of having your own projects to show, right? Having your own projects that you worked on, that reflect your own independent work, right? So how are you coming along with that? Are you putting that together? Are you, getting stuck in certain parts? Do you feel you need additional development? But that would be if I was in your position, that would be my goal, right? How can I get more of my independent work out there, right? How can I get, how can I walk into that next interview being able to talk about 3 different projects that I worked on, right? Super important. And I know you're a smart guy, right? You can't be a dummy and get a degree in CS, right? So think about that, right? Like what are the steps that you need to take in order to have those projects? As I tell people, and I actually had a comment in my Instagram that I had to reply to yesterday. If you're walking in there and just answering their questions, you're doing it wrong, right? So let me know how we can support you in that, Denislin. Okay, so Leo is adding to his previous statement because it involves different perspectives. What is the line between high standards and having that feeling, for example? Maybe you didn't fail or wasted time. What is the line between high standards and having that feeling, for example? Maybe you didn't fail or wasted time. Yeah, I mean, I guess it does depend on the type of research or the type of problem you're trying to solve. Some problems take more effort to solve than others. I think that's your underlying point. And I get that, right? Some problems can take a legitimately lot of time to review or to research. But trying is a form of research, right? Getting out there and doing it is a form of research, right? Like going back to the example of diets, right? You're going to learn a lot by sticking to any diet for a week, right? No matter what it is, right? If you say for the next week, I'm just going to try this and I'm going to try it by the book. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to do what the plan says and then I'll reevaluate, right? That's a form of research, right? That's a form of saying, I'm just going to put my bias aside. I'm just going to do it. And it's just 1 week. I'm just going to do this for 1 week, period. Right? That's valuable too. That's valuable just as much as reading or watching YouTubes or again, sitting in our own heads about what the outcomes could be. Now, and I'm just using diets as an example here. I'm sure all of you get that. But, I think it applies to a lot of different things out there. So let me know, Leo. Let me know if you think about what you think about that, or if maybe I misunderstood your statement. Or anybody else who wants to contribute, because I think it's a really, really interesting thought to think about, right? Nada says, do you use other apps for live videos? Yeah, Nada, you can also find me on YouTube. Most people find the YouTube format, the widescreen format, a little bit more comfortable than Instagram. I see that you're on Instagram. So on YouTube, I'm Data Science with Dennis. And, if you set the notify there, it'll tell you when I go live, okay? So Sariga, our new friend Sariga says, I'm a data analyst, but I would like to move to a data science role, learn Python, but having some difficulty in understanding some ideas about the mathematical concepts. Well, you shouldn't get too deep into the mathematical concepts, right? If you're already working as a data analyst, then you should really be hyper focused on modeling skills. I mean, that's really what you need to make that jump, right? So for most data analysts, you can start off with just like some simple regression modeling. And that doesn't take a lot of math at all, right? There's plenty of libraries that can help you with that. Excuse me. So yeah. I mean, if you want to be more specific about this, please, feel free to add to the conversation. Yeah, you shouldn't be getting too deep in the math, right? And I know that there are some people out there that put an overemphasis on the math, but it's really more about the understanding the libraries that will do the math for you, when to use them, when not to use them, things along those lines, right? So let us know, Sariga. Let us know if you want to add to that. Nada says, I'm going to buy the books. I am actually watching from break at work. Oh, thanks. I appreciate you watching during your break. Thanks a lot for that. I actually failed statistics in undergraduate. That's why I doubt myself if data analytics or business analytics is a path for me or not. If data analytics or business analytics, and you failed statistics in undergraduate. Gosh, that's a good question. I'm not sure if anybody's ever asked me that. Nada, you don't say how long it's been since you took those undergraduate classes. I don't know if that's recent or if there's been a gap. But if it's been recent and you haven't taken the time to brush up, I would say that you definitely do need a pretty decent understanding of statistics. Like, don't get crazy with it. But if you failed an undergrad level of statistics, then yeah, then you definitely need to revisit that. For both of the, and I'm saying that for both of the paths you're talking about, right? It's going to be really hard to move forward if you don't have at least a foundation in some statistics, right? Like I say, don't be like graduate level amazing, but you are going to want to, pass a undergrad and maybe like an applied statistics course. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Because I get the business analyst question a lot, but it's an interesting twist there if you're acknowledging that you didn't do so great in statistics. So Nada, I would definitely want to go and revisit that. Good question. Leo says, oh, Dennis, talking about books, today is a good day for a book recommendation. Leo, I put one in the Discord for you. It was right before this, so maybe you didn't get a chance to look at it. But Leo did ask for a book recommendation overnight on the Discord. And I'll put a link later for this in the main chat. But there is a book out there called You Are Not So Smart. And it's, as I get more advanced in my career, I don't need to read the technical books, right? I mean, I kind of know that already, learned it on my own. But what I do is I like looking at the books that talk about like data and psychology and like how the human mind processes data, right? Like that's like the next level up, right? So that book, You Are Not So Smart, is excellent at talking about that. So Leo, you're going to find that link in the Discord. But yeah, if you guys are looking for a really good read, very underrated as a data science book, You Are Not So Smart is a really good book. Okay? Gamudisa, our good friend Gamudisa is back. How are you, my friend? Hey, Dennis, I have my first technical interview tomorrow relating to LLMs, Pythons, and Fast API. Any advice? Walk in there with some examples, right? Don't let them drive the technical interview. You should be driving the technical interview, right? Walk in there with examples of work that you've done and walk them through it. Let them know, what you're capable of. If you're sitting in a technical interview and you're answering their questions, you've already lost, right? So make sure you're able to walk in there and speak to something that you have done. Okay. I like I said, I replied that to in my Instagram yesterday because I keep on getting that question, guys. There's always a strategy to the strategy, right? Your strategy should not be, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to answer their questions and do the best I can. That's level one. You gotta walk in there with a strategy to the strategy. So what does a hiring manager want to know? The whole purpose of these interviews, of the interview cycles and all that, they want to know, are you ready to go on day one? Period. That's what they're trying to find out. Right? That's the metagame. So your reply, your play, is show them that you're ready to go on day one. That's how you play this, right? So walk in there with concrete examples of what you've done and why you are the candidate that's ready to go on day one. Okay? I mean, that's really the best advice I can give you. So let us know how it goes, Gamudisa, okay? I hope it goes well for you. Rex says, what are your thoughts on how our educational system in the US teaches us about experimentation, especially when it comes to interpreting and learning from failures? How does this play a role in the job industry? Yeah, that's a great question, Rex. And I'm not sure if I have all the pieces of information needed to answer that. Because like so many things can go into that, right? Because one of the things that, like I don't want to get all existential and like talking about like anthropology and sociology because I find those topics fascinating, but I know that I'm not an expert in them. But I keep on reading in your question, especially when it comes from interpreting and learning from failures. I think that there's a school of thought out there that says that we don't let kids fail enough nowadays, right? Everybody gets a trophy, everyone's special, no one's better than anybody else, right? So I'm not sure if we let that happen enough, Rex. So that's why I'm kind of getting stuck on your question, because like, do we let people fail enough? I don't know. Like, okay, so if we're really going to go off on this one, because, I inherently like the question, Rex, because I think about these things. I don't necessarily always share them, because, again, I'm not an expert in these things. But do you guys, let me ask you something. Do you guys have that one friend where, like, they're a complete idiot, right? Like, they don't have a job, they just sit around all day, just like, like that lazy friend, right? But like once or two times a year, they say something like so amazingly brilliant that you remember, like, oh, that's why we're friends. Yeah, because every once in a while, you're not an idiot, right? Like you guys have that friend. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Like I have a friend like that, right? And a couple years ago, he said something that's really like probably the most brilliant thing I've ever heard. And then he just went back to smoking pot on his couch or whatever the hell he does, right? He said something that one of the failures in our society is that we don't have shame, right? At least in the US and most Western societies, right? You could argue that most Western societies don't allow for shame. You can't shame anybody. We ourselves don't feel shame anymore, right? You can't shame anyone for their choices or for their weight or for their appearance or for anything else, right? Like we as a society don't allow that, right? And that has effects, right? It has effects on society, on your politics, on your economy, things along those lines, right? And I happen to agree with that, right? Like ever since he told me that, and I've kind of observed it myself, it's true, right? We don't allow ourselves to shame anybody, right? So that's why, Rex, you know, that there is no failure, there is no shame anymore, right? So if anything, we don't do it enough, right? And if you don't do, and if that doesn't exist, then there is no motivation for experimentation or to continue experimentation after it doesn't go well, because no one's going to hold you to task for it, right? No one's going to like hold you accountable and say, well, why did you do that, right? But somebody telling you why did you do that will make you do it differently next time. Will make you improve, right? It creates the next iteration, right? So, yeah, so if anything, Rex, we need more of that. So that's just my thought on it. If you guys have any other thoughts on it, I'm open to hearing it. I know that we're talking a little bit, you know, outside of like the normal data science realm. And like I said, I'm being cautious because I don't like to, you know, I don't like to get out of my lane, right? My lane is data science. But I think, you know, it fits the conversation here. Farah, welcome. Farah, I think it's your first time. We always ask people to introduce themselves. Let us know your city, state, province, country, all that good stuff, okay? Yassine says, inspired by your example, I think relying on only thinking brings other risks. Thoughts will likely have personal bias. Do we just keep thinking and building upon the previous thoughts without? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Actual test, you can have so much built upon incorrect assumptions. Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Nothing will fix those incorrect assumptions faster than actually trying it, right? Like once you actually try it, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, I was way off. I should have never done this. Now I know to do this, this, and this instead, right? So that's valuable too, Yassine, right? To be able to have that realization to say, oh wow, yeah, I mean, I thought it was this way, but even after just trying it for 10 minutes, it's like, oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, you know, I totally agree with that, Yassine. That it'll break those previous thoughts, those assumptions really quickly, and that's valuable, right? So yeah, I'm totally with you, Yassine. Lalman says, hey, good morning from Nepal. Dennis, good morning to you too, Lalman. Although I think it's night in Nepal. I think you're just being nice and saying good morning. But yeah, but glad to see that you're here, Lalman. Hope that you're doing well. Gamudisa says, the problem is I already presented all my projects and examples to the CEO. This is kind of a technical assessment. Should I repeat what I said? Yeah, because the CEO is not going to be doing the technical assessment, right? It's gonna be one of the other people. I mean, most likely your supervisor, right? But yeah, they're not the ones. They're not the ones it'll be a completely different person tomorrow, right? So absolutely, just have the projects and be able to talk to them. Osama says, "Sir, what steps can we take to avoid falling into imposter syndrome?" Yeah, we've had a couple of questions on that, and I think I have a video on it. I'll put it in the Discord later. But to me, the imposter syndrome is all about preparation, right? It's preparation and then reflecting upon that preparation and saying, hey, you know what? This might be a tough situation. This might be a tough scenario or whatever the case may be. But I'm going to go ahead and think about the hours that I've spent, the the time that I've researched, the times that I've been trying things, right? Trying can also help with imposter syndrome. And then you can work yourself up to that and say, okay, yeah, this might be tough. I may not know every answer, but I know things, right? I'm able to rely on my training, on my preparation, on the work I've done. I'm going to keep going, right? That's how I think imposter syndrome is best taken on. Now, again, I'm just sharing that because a lot of young people that I mentor have asked me that question, but I'm not a psychologist. So if you feel like you want to talk to somebody professional, I would certainly encourage you to do that. But it is such a big topic, or an important topic, that it's actually part of my book. I have a small section on imposter syndrome in my book because that's how significant it's been on everybody approaching me about that. Whenever I've had a mentoree, at some point in that relationship, they've all asked me about imposter syndrome. And I've had at least a dozen to 15 mentorees over the years, and every single one has asked me about imposter syndrome. So that's the best I can tell you. It's all about the preparation, right? And then when you're in that situation and you're starting to have those doubts, talk it out, right? All that work I did, all my research, all my writings, all my trying is right here with me. It's supporting me right now, right? So hope that helps you, Osama. If not, let me know. It's a tough topic. Rizwan, our good friend Rizwan is back. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Hope everything is good with you and your family. Yassine says, I relate to your advice. I have a friend that loves you enough to tell you your resume sucks. Shame should be allowed indeed. Yeah. That's funny because Yassine here is combining advice I give about how, you should have people in your life that love you enough to tell you maybe that your resume needs help, right? But here's the thing, Yassine. The reason why I posted that, and by the way, I posted this other video with Kai Green, who's a bodybuilder. And I got this from Kai Green, right? Because he talks about that. He says, look, you can say that you want to be a big muscle bodybuilder and that you want your arms to be 23 inches, right? But your mother's still going to love you, right? You could fail at your goal and your mother's still going to love you, right? So that's why sometimes your parents aren't the best person to look at the resume, right? Or your brothers and sisters may not be the best people to look at the resume, right? So it's different. It's different as far as like, what are you really looking to get help on? And how are you going to, or who are the people you should be relying on for that help? It's not always the people you think, right? But yeah, I mean, if you have that Yassine, then that's great. You need somebody like that to tell you, right? And then shame should be allowed indeed. So Yassine, you'll notice that I specifically said here in the US and in Western countries, because I do recognize that in other countries, shame to some degree still exists. Not always, right? But there are still some countries and cultures out there that still hold each other accountable to where shame does exist. Some people will look at that as a positive thing. Some people will look at that as a negative thing. But I think there's definitely negatives to having a society without any shame, right? I think it's Syed. Syed says, hello, good morning from Haripur, KPK, Pakistan. What's KPK? I don't know what KPK is. But glad to see you. I don't think it's your first time. Pretty sure I've seen you here before. So welcome, Syed. Hope you're doing well out there. Sariga says, what about domain knowledge? Are everyone domain specific when it comes to data science jobs? Only the bad companies, right? A good company will want to welcome people with various domain knowledge. Domain knowledge is a form of bias, right? It's a dangerous form of bias. A good data science team, a good data science manager will recognize that. So if you're in a good process, they should be able to recognize that even though you don't have domain knowledge, you could still be a valuable candidate to them. Don't get me wrong, companies do make that mistake. This is a conversation I have with my corporate clients, with my coaching clients, because plenty of companies do make that mistake, right? But don't worry about the domain knowledge. If anything, you should be going in there and saying and using it as a positive, right? If you don't have domain knowledge about the company you're applying to, that just means you're going to bring the freshest ideas, because you're ignorant enough to suggest things that might be crazy that could work, right? Why? Because you haven't tried them, right? Because that's the domain knowledge bias, right? That somebody sits there and says, "Oh no, that'll never work. I tried that at my last company." Well, that's shitty data science. You can't say that, right? I mean, that's a terrible methodology. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about the domain knowledge and about being domain specific. It's healthy to have a variety of backgrounds. Leo says, when you're 34, divorced, pursuing a new career, you need to learn how to dance with failure or shame. Your standards come down a little bit and you're easy with yourself. Okay, cool. But you know what, Leo? I'm gonna share something with the chat that maybe only Leo and Rex and other people from New York City would understand. But maybe last year, 2 years ago, we had a case here in New York City where there was a politician who just outright lied about his entire resume. And somehow he managed to get elected to the House of Representatives here in the U.S., a very high, very serious office, basically on an entire resume that was fabricated. And, he lied about his employment, about his personal past, about, other things, about how he used his fundraising money, things along those lines, right? And this is where I saw it the most, where they basically try to shame him out of office. Right? The press, the other congressional representatives, all of that. They basically try to shame him out of office in a situation that was never going to work. Because I saw that developing in the media, in the reports and everything, in the TV interviews. And I could see it wasn't going to work. Because they were basically trying to shame him in a society that doesn't allow for shame. Right? So this guy actually managed to stay in office for, I think, almost 2 years. They finally had to charge him with criminal items in order to, kind of like criminally remove him, right? But basically for 2 years, they tried to shame him into quitting, and that was never going to work, right? It was kind of dumb to try because it doesn't work in our society. Like we allowed somebody to fake their entire resume to get into one of the highest offices in the US. Because nobody wanted to stop and say, hey, wait a minute, maybe that guy is a fraud. Right? So shame just doesn't exist. And so I see it, all around, right? So, if Leo, if you are saying that there are feelings of shame, they're probably like self-imposed because like externally, like we just don't allow it, right? Nobody will do that to you externally, right? So I don't know, Leo, let me know if that resonates with you. But you're mentioning some things there that can be tough. Divorce can be tough. That's a big life event. I get that. But the shame you're describing is just within yourself. Externally, there'd be none, right? Yeah, Rex, I'm jumping down to your comment because I know you're from New York. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Exactly, in my opinion, shame doesn't work, especially as an external feedback. Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% spot on, Rex. I mean, that's the situation with that politician, right? It was all external shame. And he was in office for like 2 years, right? I mean, it's ridiculous that was allowed, right? Like, that's super ridiculous that was allowed. But that can only happen in a shameless society, right? Like, that situation said more about our society and our outlook than anything else. Like, it's terrible. It's terrible. But you're exactly spot on, Rex. Like, as an external source, forget about it. Forget about it. Like, you know, like even for me, like you know, from my own personal experiences, like, you know, the U.S. is a fat society, right? I don't think that's a shocking statement to anybody. But we don't shame fat people, right? Other countries do shame fat people, right? In other countries, it's not socially acceptable. Excuse me, socially acceptable to comment on other people's bodies or comment on other people's weights. I had that happen to me. I don't think I've ever shared this story, but when I was in Japan, I went to Tokyo twice 2 years ago on my way back and forth from Sydney. I spent a couple nights in Tokyo on the way there and on the way back. And I remember I was in this hotel, this beautiful, gorgeous hotel in Tokyo. And I was on my way to the spa. So I kind of had like my workout clothes, you know, just like a light t-shirt, like light shorts. And a guy in the elevator, this Japanese guy in the elevator, like made a comment about my body. Like it was just him and I, like, so he wasn't like saying it to his friend as a snide, like he said it to me. And I remember that when he got out of the elevator, I was like, did he just body shame me? Like, what did that guy just, like, what was his intent in saying that? But, you know, that's acceptable in other societies and other cultures, right? We don't allow that in the US. Like, to me, that was, you know, I'm not going to say it was unwarranted. You know, I was a much bigger guy then than I am now, right? I've lost some weight. But like in other societies, that's okay, right? But that's just not every society. Yeah, I can't remember what he told me. He said something like I had a big stout body type or something like that. Maybe it was just his poor English, right? Because he was Japanese. But he was like, "Oh, you have big stout body type with big shoulders," and I was like, "Okay, thank you." Like, I didn't know if he was like trying to hit on me or like what the situation was. It was just him and I in the elevator. It was like really weird, but that's allowed in other countries, right? That's not allowed in every country. Leo says, because you just don't care too much about other people or validation, your standards, because you just don't care too much about people. Okay, I see what you're saying, Leo. I see what you're saying. Okay, maybe I misunderstood your first theme. You need to learn to dance with failure or shame. Your standards come down a little bit and you're easy with yourself. Yeah, because you just don't care too much about other people or validation. Okay, I get you now, Leo, and I totally agree with that. Yeah. If yeah, you know, just kind of adding on to like Leo's thoughts here. If you guys haven't been through a divorce will teach you a lot about yourself. You know, and I hope nobody goes through a divorce. I hope all of you that are married stay in long marriages for a long time. But going through a divorce will teach you a lot about yourself. So if that's what you're talking about, Leo, and that kind of like, you know, makes you a little bit tougher and you don't care about other people, I get it. Let's see. Casual Economist says, great stream. I'm driving. I wish I could chat more. Casual Economist. Why you don't schedule your day around this live stream is such a disappointment to me. I'm going to try to shame you into it right now. But you're disappointing me, my friend. You're disappointing. Your whole calendar should be built around this. In fact, I want you to block off the first half hour so you don't the half hour prior to my stream and then a half hour after the stream so that you don't risk missing any portion. All right, so our friend Denelson says, I have experience in research and in business, but this all happened in my last year at school. I have worked on projects on my own with what I've learned and only courses. However, I can't express it. I lack in expressing the impact of the projects I work on. Where I currently work, my position doesn't work mainly on data. I always look for ways to put practice what I've learned and present to my boss. Okay. But you can do things outside of work, right? Aren't there things that you could be working on outside of work? Like other pieces of data, right? I mean, I think you've been attending the Sunday courses, right? And we've always reached out to other things, right? Other pieces of data, right? So that's really what I'm talking about, right? I'm not talking about presenting it to your boss. I'm talking about presenting it on LinkedIn and to your professional network, right? Having things that you can point to on your resume and say, you know, as an independent study, as a personal study, I did this. Here is my final report on LinkedIn, right? That's what I'm talking about. Don't think within the confines of work or school or things like. Think about things that you can go out and find on your own. Start with your hobbies. What are some of your hobbies? What are some of your interests? What is some of the data around those interests, right? So, you know, like I said, you're a smart guy. You just gotta, you know, apply a little bit of creativity to it and say, okay, yeah, you know, this article speaks to me. What data can I draw from this study or from this work that I can build upon or something, right? And by work, I mean like research work somebody else did, not your current job. Okay. Hamad says, yes, this is not my first time. I have been here since under 500 subscribers. Well, thanks so much, Hamad. I know you were one of my early supporters, so it's good to see you back. Thanks so much, my friend. Really appreciate that. Sariga says, that's great to know. Thank you. Yeah, Sariga, you know, just trying to give good advice here. Khalif says, New York City, we can understand for sure. Oh, okay. Yeah, Khalif, remind me, what was that politician's name that I was referring to? You know, because you're in New York, right? So you're a local there. So yeah, remind me what the politician's name was. You can write it fast. I know. I know you live in New York, so you probably know it. So go ahead and just write it quickly in the chat, okay? I appreciate that. So Rafine Ella? Rafine, is this your first time here? I can't remember. Let us know your city, state, province, country, okay? I'm glad you have philosophical sense of mind because I would love to personally talk about that situation. That is proof the system is rigged. Yeah, to some degree, sure. But I don't know. It's easy to get caught up with it, right? It's easy for you to kind of go crazy with it, right? Because in a way, I'm also expressing a form of bias, right? Like this is just my view, right? Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, who knows, right? So I'm happy to share it here and I'm happy to get feedback from you guys, right? This is me just saying, hey, you know, what do you guys think? You know, this is what I'm putting out there. What do you guys think? But it really just depends on how different people view things, right? And like I said, even culturally, right? People view things differently, right? I do think that shame does exist in other cultures, other countries, right? I'm really kind of trying to talk just about here in the US, right? Or Western, I think most Western societies, I think this would apply to. And if you remember, I'm also tying it back to Rex's previous statement about failures, right? Do we let people fail here? Maybe not as much as in other cultures, other countries, right? So, you know, it's just a variety of different things. It's just a variety of different perspectives. So if you have a different perspective, Rafine, you know, feel free to include it. But I do want to give the warning, right, that on my channel, I do like to keep us free of politics or religion or anything like that, right? Um, but if anybody else does want to share like that type of philosophical thought, it's healthy for all of us as data scientists to discuss it, right? But Rafina, I appreciate your thoughts. And again, if it's your first time, let us know where you're from, okay? Casual Economist says we shame we shame on this channel. Telecom thugs, PyTorch. I'm missing a bunch of. Oh, you're missing a ton of stuff. Telecom, PyTorch, PhDs, venture capitalists. What else? Java programmers. I mean, come on. Casual Economist, hey, you could only come up with 2? Come on, we shame a lot. I got a lot of things I share with you guys. Oh man. Khalif says, had it been me, Leo would have tagged me a lot of excuses. Well, Khalif, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and include that politician's name. You're a New York local, so you know who I'm talking about. Casual Economist says, AI startups. Do I shame AI startups? Yeah. Okay, let's put them on the list. Casual Economist says, I'm driving. You should be driving to your computer so you can watch us on live. That's the only driving you should be doing. All right, Rex says, do you follow a framework in giving feedback to your colleagues and people working under you? It depends, Rex. It depends. Depends on the type of feedback and depends on the need for it. So the reason I say that, Rex, is because when you guys are working in a corporate environment, there are people who will approach you with feedback. There are for requests for feedback, right? There are people who will approach you for feedback because of their review process, right? That's known as like peer feedback, where it's somebody who you just worked with, but they don't necessarily report to you. They're just like a colleague, but you're filling out an HR form for them. And then there's feedback you need to give as part of the formal review process to people who work for you. And then there's feedback you need to give because something has gone wrong, right? So there's a lot of different ways to deliver all of those feedback, right? So that probably would be a very long conversation. But the quick answer I can give you guys, and you can research this because I'm not an expert on this, but and it's out there. This is a known technique. It's called the feedback sandwich. You start off with something positive, you give the feedback that you need to give, and then you finish with something positive. You can Google that. It's called the feedback sandwich, or sometimes people call it the feedback hamburger, I think also. But that's one of the basic frameworks for feedback. To say, hey, you're doing great. Really appreciate your work. Really appreciate that you show up on time every day. I would like to see us do some more improvement on blah, 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 blah. And by the way, I know that you're trying your best and I really appreciate you being part of the team, right? That's your basic feedback sandwich. So, like I said, Rex, we could talk a ton about this, but that's the most basic framework that's out there that you guys could research. But there's just too many scenarios, right? And like I said, some of them you're just talking and giving feedback. Others you're like filling out an HR form. So the way you would handle both of those is like completely different. Wow, Yassine is keeping score at home. Jeez, yes. Okay, guys. So now we know that Yassine is sitting at home with a notebook, writing everything I say down. So Yassine says, I give shame on Elon, on math nerds, and most importantly, the expert. Oh, you know what? Now I feel like Yassine is shaming me about my shame. So it's like a shame back. But yes, you're right. I did forget about Elon and the math nerds and the experts. Damn, Yassine's over there just keeping notes, keeping score over there. I didn't know you were like that, Yassine. I'm sorry. Jeez. Wow. So casual economist, if you ever need to know what went on, just go ahead and just ask Yassine. He's got the full notes over there. Wow. Wow, Yassine. I'm hurt. I think we need to stop. I think we need to stop now. Wow. But I do feel like we're still missing a couple. Because sometimes when I'm telling you guys these things, I go fast. So I think like we're still missing a couple. What else has there been? I can't remember. Rahul is back. Hello, Dennis. Sorry for being away. Rahul, so good to see you, my friend. How you been? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Let us know how things are going out there in the regionous mountains of India. Yassine says, of course I must keep notes of everything you say. That's value. I don't know, Yassine. The way you wrote that, it's like you're gonna be saying that in a courtroom one day. And then Dennis talked about Elon. And then Yassine says, wait, am I just being shamed? That's funny. Yeah, it's a shame to the shame back to the shame. So it's like a three levels of shame going back and forth here. Majesty on X says, great job, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you. Majesty, we always ask people to let us know their city, state, province, country. Just a quick way to introduce yourself, okay? Oh, Yassine, I know which one you forgot. You forgot, just yesterday, I talked about the horrible emails I get from people, when they send me inquiries, and just like the way they're formatted and the writing. That's another one. That's another one that I wish I could shame all day. I could talk all day about those. Sariga asks, I don't know if I can ask about the interview, being genuine or being a bit of exaggerator, which one helps? Always genuine. Always genuine. Right? Because people know when you're being phony. Right? People know when you're exaggerating, believe it or not. But again, if you're walking in there with 3 projects that you worked on end to end, that you owned, right? One, I hope you guys realize that there's a meta element to that, right? Because coming up with 3 projects that have a well-written article, that's not easy. You're not going to do that in a day, right? That's at least, assuming that you're good, that's at least a month's worth of work for 3 quality articles, right? So the work that you've done towards that is kind of self-evident to your data scientist skills, right? Like I say that again as a meta play. Because I'm hoping that some of you are sitting there and saying, wait a minute, I don't have the skills to come up with those 3 articles. Therefore, I'm probably not ready to start interviewing. Like that is a valid result from you thinking about that, right? Like I'm hoping that all of you guys are making those types of connections to be able to say, well, wait a minute, if Dennis is recommending 3 articles and I don't feel so strong about being able to come up with 3 articles, then maybe I need to work more on my data science skills, right? And I'm saying that because I kind of see that in your question too. Because if you can work yourself up to doing that, and you really do have those articles that you can talk to and you worked on them, and it's reflective of your skills and reflective of, kind of like your blood, sweat, and tears, then this would never be a question about being genuine or being exaggerated. you would be genuine because you know the work that you put into it. Or coming back to the imposter syndrome questions, your probability of feeling imposter syndrome drops way down if you can say, hey, I worked on these. I put in a lot of work. I stayed up until 11 o'clock at night after I did all my regular schoolwork or obligations or whatever. And I did this for me. I did this. I own this work. Right? The genuineness comes without asking, and your probability of feeling imposter syndrome like drops, right? Like to in my view, like virtually zero, right? So that's why I'm kind of a little concerned by your question, because your genuine work won't need any exaggeration. You'll be so proud of it, and that it'll come off as genuine. Like it won't even be a question that you'll be exaggerating, right? So think about that. Think about that, Sarika. Okay. Yassine says yes, and the clothes companies and calling cities the New York of it. All right, you know what? I'm feeling really unappreciated right now. I give you guys quality biased statements, and this is how you treat me? Oh man, you guys are taking notes over there. Jeez, tough crowd. Like, so now all of you have notebooks out. And then on Tuesday, September 17th, Dennis said that. You guys are going to be like reporting this to a courtroom or something eventually. Gee. Sarvesh says recursive shame. I don't know, Sarvesh. At this point, I'm just feeling beat down. I'm feeling beat down. Like you guys are just, oh my gosh. What have I started here? It's a good thing that my 100 days of streaming ends next week. I may never stream again, guys. Rahul says, I just came out of the mountains for now, moving for Delhi. Oh, wow, you're going to move to Delhi? That's crazy. That's pretty far, though, right? Isn't that pretty far from... Because you said you were like in northern India, right? Let us know what brought that move along, Rahul. Hope that move goes well for you. Okay, so Denelson says, outside of work, I have worked on several CV projects and have some forecasting projects for machine maintenance. Additionally, as an MLB fan, I like looking at the stats for the okay, cool. I'm a Dodgers fan too. You know, big Friday coming up. Big Friday coming up. Timestamp notes and backed up on all I do. Okay, great. So now take that all into some significant data science research and then write about what you did, but don't write about the data science impact, write about the business impact for that, right? Like if you're doing forecasting projects for machine maintenance, great. What are your conclusions? Not from the algorithm, but about how much you can save a company, right? Like what is the dollar value you can attach or the time value you can attach to what you did? That should be your focus for your final delivery on your LinkedIn, on your article, whatever it is that you're going to put together, right? And then that's the article you walk into your next interview with. So think of it that way, Denelson. Leo says, lol. Lots of things to laugh at, Leo. Apparently most of them have been directed at me. I feel like such a punching bag today. You guys have hurt my feelings. Oh man. So much variety of stuff to discuss today. What else is on your mind? And anybody else want to shame me on more things, or are you guys done with that? Because obviously you guys are having a lot of fun with it. I mean, there's so much more, right? We haven't talked about carbs and sugar and big food companies. There's a lot more shaming we could do here, guys. Yassine says, I won't keep notes anymore. Please don't go. We'll see, Yassine. We'll see. There might be some changes coming up. Different scheduling, different changes, different things coming up. I've been saving them also to do a Wild Moments of Dennis 2024 on YouTube. That'd be a long video. That'd be a very long video, Leo. Lawman says that's a great point on how to handle imposter syndrome. Even though it had just been 5 days for me working as data analyst, that's the main reason I don't tackle with it as much. Okay, so are you saying that the work is helping you build that confidence? Right? Because that is another way to battle the imposter syndrome, right? The longer you are in your position, the more comfort you're going to feel, right? So I'm not sure if that's exactly what you meant. So let me know, Lalman. But yeah, I mean, the more that you are in the position, the more that you're going to feel comfortable, right? So I hope that's what you were referring to. But yeah, guys, speaking of 2024, within a month or so, my projections say that we're gonna hit 100,000 followers on YouTube, which is obviously an amazing number to say. So if you guys have an idea for a 100K watch party, let me know. You know, we're gonna watch the numbers turn over. I really regret that we missed that at 50,000 because it happened so fast. So at the very least, I'm going to do like an extended watch party where it'll be like a couple hours beforehand so people can come and go as the number gets closer. So that way, you know, we're not in danger of missing it. But if you guys have other ideas for a 100K watch party, you know, please let me know. Please send me a message on YouTube or on Discord or whatever. To Leo's point, as I've told you guys, I did a lot of research before starting this. You know, I did a lot of sample videos and stuff like that, and I would send them to my friends. And I found a bunch of them recently, and they are terrible. They are terrible videos. Or maybe I'll show some of those streams where like nobody showed up. I did plenty of streams where I had 0 viewers, right? So maybe I'll show something like that, you know, something funny like that. But if you guys have other ideas, you know, let me know. Let me know. I still have my 20-year-old bottle of scotch that I might open up. Who knows? But yeah, if you guys have ideas for a 100K watch party, I think that'll be fun to do. Barad, I think it's Barad. Barad, we asked people to introduce themselves. Let us know your city, state, province, country, all that good stuff, okay? Sariga says, thank you, wonderful conversation with you, and I'm sorry that I have to leave now. Hey, no worries. I appreciate that you introduced yourself, appreciate that you participated. Keep on coming back. You know, I hope you got a sense for our community, so keep on coming back. Casual economist just keeps on beating me down. Doesn't know when to give up. Fake tech influencers. We forgot the #1 answer. One of the reasons for the channel. You guys are brutal. Lawman says, I meant the work I have to put into building my skills. Help me believe that I deserve this position. Yeah, absolutely, Lawman. Good man. I love that you're pointing that out. And that's absolutely true, right? Going through the exercise of preparing yourself is a way to prevent or lower the probability of imposter syndrome. Love it. I love that you're going through that. Okay. So Yassine says, sir, I will say something that's a bit weird, but imposter syndrome is a good thing to some degree. Okay. I could see an argument for that, but I don't want to make an argument for you. So why don't you tell me what you mean by that? Because I think you're right, but let me know what exactly you have in mind. Because, you know, it could be a different view, right? Let me know exactly what you have in mind. But I agree. I agree that there are scenarios where that can work. Malik says, keep up the good work. Oh, I appreciate that, Malik. Thank you so much. Let us know where you're from, Malik. I think it's your first time, but we asked people to introduce themselves. But I appreciate the kind words. Thank you. But yeah, guys, lots of I guess you guys are making me realize how many biases I've expressed on this channel. Jeez. But you know what? It's my channel, so I can do whatever I want. You know what? I'm just sharing. I'm just sharing ramblings of an old man. You know, I've had a little bit of life experience, a little bit of things out there. Boot camps, YouTube University course. Hey, don't forget Minneapolis too, right? Yeah, you'll notice Casual Economist forgot to mention that. But yeah. Oh, Lakshmi. Look at Lakshmi coming in strong. You know what? You guys should be ashamed here that you forgot this one. The football debate. That's right. Oh, I forgot about that. Even I forgot about that one. But you're right, Lakshmi. Everybody forgot about the football one. Because this other word I don't know what that means. But yeah, you guys forgot about the football one. Jeez. What a list. Casually Con says we really need a... What do you mean you need a list? You guys already have one. This whole chat's a list. That's funny. You guys are killing me. You guys are killing me. All right, let's end on a high note there. That was a good chat, guys. We didn't even get to the article that I had in mind. We'll do the article tomorrow. It's a good one. I posted in the Discord if you want to look at it. But as always, thank you all so much. I just hope that, again, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening in the world, so I hope that you and your families are going to be safe. So, please take care of yourselves and please take care of your families. And I'll talk to you next time.